Imagine standing just a few meters away from a gorilla that can weigh over 200 kilograms, with massive arms, powerful jaws, and muscles that make the average human seem incredibly fragile. One wrong move and you might think the encounter is over. This is the gorilla, a creature renowned for its terrifying strength. But the strange thing is, despite its immense physical power, gorillas usually don't want to attack humans. Why? Why would an animal capable of inflicting serious injuries choose to stay away? To understand the answer, we have to forget everything Hollywood has taught us about these animals, because the reality of gorillas is far more interesting. Let's start by talking about their strength. An adult male gorilla, especially a silverback, can weigh over 150 kilograms, and some individuals can weigh much more. Their bodies are built for strength. Massive shoulders, long, muscular arms, thick chests, powerful hands, and enormous muscles designed for climbing, pulling, fighting, and traversing dense jungle. But there's an important point to clarify. You often hear claims online that gorillas are 10 times stronger than humans. This is a gross oversimplification. There's no single scientifically proven figure to support that. While it's true gorillas are 10 times stronger than humans, their strength depends on the standard of measurement, the animal itself, and the method of comparison. But there's no doubt that an adult gorilla possesses tremendous strength compared to the average human, and this is precisely what makes their behavior so remarkable. If gorillas have such a physical advantage, why don't they simply attack? The answer begins with something humans often misunderstand about wild animals. Strength doesn't necessarily equate to aggression. Gorillas don't wake up every morning looking for an enemy. Their priorities are quite different: food, family, territory, and protecting the group. Gorillas are social animals, and the silverback gorilla is often responsible for protecting the members of its group. This means that its greatest advantage isn't simply its ability to fight, but its ability to avoid unnecessary conflicts. Think about it. In the wild, an injury can be devastating. A broken limb can make climbing or eating much more difficult. A serious wound can become infected, and the injured animal can become weaker, and weakness in the wild can mean death. So, even an incredibly strong animal has a reason to avoid unnecessary violence. This is one of the biggest misconceptions about gorillas. People see their muscles, a huge head, massive hands, and powerful chest thumping, and imagine a perpetually angry animal. But gorillas communicate in many different ways. They use vocalizations, postures, facial expressions, movements, and displays of strength. Sometimes what looks like an attack is actually a warning. This is where it gets really interesting. Imagine a silverback gorilla seeing something strange approaching, perhaps another animal, a rival male, or even a human. The gorilla might suddenly stand up straight, tense its body, make loud noises, beat its chest, slam the ground, or even move quickly toward the perceived threat. To a human, this might seem frightening, but the purpose might not be communication. It might be a message: stay away. This distinction is crucial because gorillas don't necessarily need to fight you to make you leave. Their size and strength are already enough to convey the threat. In other words, sometimes chest thumping isn't the start of a fight, but rather an attempt to prevent one. This tells us something important about animal behavior. The strongest animal in the room doesn't always need to prove it. And this is where humans can make a serious mistake. We often interpret animal behavior through the lens of our own human emotions. If a gorilla looks at us, we might think it's angry. If it approaches, we might think it's attacking. If it roars, we might think it wants to fight. But animals don't necessarily behave according to the same social rules we do. A gorilla might approach out of curiosity, to explore something unfamiliar, in response to a movement, or simply to try to understand what's happening. But this doesn't mean humans should treat gorillas as harmless pets, quite the opposite. Gorillas are still wild animals, and wild animals can become dangerous when they feel threatened, cornered, surprised, or when their group is in danger. This is especially important when young gorillas are nearby. Imagine a silverback gorilla watching over its family, and then a human suddenly moves toward one of the young. From a human's perspective, it might seem innocent, but from a gorilla's perspective, it could be very different. The silverback doesn't know your intentions, it doesn't know you're just taking a picture, or that you're simply curious. It sees a stranger moving toward a vulnerable member of its group, and that's when the situation can change. This is why experienced wildlife observers follow strict rules around gorillas. They don't scream, they don't make sudden movements, they don't chase them, they don't attempt to touch them, and they don't deliberately provoke them, because the goal isn't to prove who is stronger, the goal is to avoid creating a situation where strength becomes necessary. And there's another fascinating reason gorillas don't simply attack every human they encounter. Humans are not their normal prey. Gorillas are primarily herbivorous. Their diet consists largely of vegetation along with other plant foods depending on the species and habitat. They aren't hunting humans, they aren't looking at us as food, so there is usually no biological reason for a gorilla to attack a person simply because it sees one. This is completely different from the way humans sometimes imagine predators. A gorilla isn't waiting in the forest for an opportunity to chase down a person. Most of the time it wants to continue doing what it was already doing. Eating, moving, resting, playing, or protecting its group. And this brings us to one of the most fascinating ideas about gorillas. Their greatest weapon may not be their strength, it may be their ability to communicate that strength without using it. A silverback can make himself appear enormous, he can make noise, he can display his body, he can approach, and sometimes that's enough. The threat is understood, no physical battle is required. This is actually an efficient survival strategy. Why risk injury when you can make the other animal leave? But what if the warning doesn't work? What if the gorilla continues to feel threatened? That's when the situation can become much more dangerous. A gorilla may escalate its behavior, it might charge, it might grab, it might bite, and because of its enormous physical power, even a short physical encounter could cause severe injuries. This is why one of the worst things a person can do is intentionally provoke a gorilla. Don't scream at it. Don't run toward it, don't try to touch it, don't attempt to take a selfie by getting dangerously close, and never assume that because a gorilla hasn't attacked you yet it won't. Respect is the most important rule, but there is something even deeper here. The story of the gorilla isn't really about a monster that chooses not to destroy humans, it's about an animal that evolved to survive through social intelligence, communication, and controlled by the silverback's job isn't to fight everything he sees, his job is to protect the group, and sometimes the best way to protect the group is to avoid a fight altogether. So the next time you see a gorilla beating its chest in a documentary, don't automatically think you're watching an animal preparing to attack. You might actually be watching something much more intelligent, a warning, a display, a message, a powerful saying, "Animal, I am strong enough to fight, but you should leave before I have to." And perhaps that's the most fascinating thing about gorillas, they don't need to prove their strength every second. Their bodies already